You okay? That's how everyone greets each other on Obsessive Compulsive Cleaners, which I've been all into lately on YouTube. It's a British show, and apparently that's a standard greeting. And so I'm tapping into my British roots a little bit. So they say, you know, somebody opens the door and they say, "Hiya, you okay?" And it's just, I don't know, in the British accents or something. I love it. It's a fantastic way of greeting each other, and I want to start asking people that now. "Hiya, you okay?" We say, "How are you?" It's kind of the same thing, but "you okay" is a little bit more straight to the point, right? Anyway, YouTube, Obsessive Compulsive Cleaners. It is a show that matches up people that have either been diagnosed with OCD or not diagnosed but have obsessions with cleaning that probably are OCD. They just don't have a diagnosis. And they get paired up with people who are hoarders, who haven't cleaned their houses for 15 years, who just had surgery and can't stay on top of things. There's all of these different stories. Sometimes somebody was in a car accident and before that they were clean and after that they weren't. Sometimes they've been hoarders for 30 years. And so over the course of the 30, 40 minutes, however long the episode is, the one person is confronting their OCD and the other one is confronting their cleaning, hoarding issues and finding where they have common ground. And by the end of the show, the hoarder has 2 or 3 clean rooms in their home and they've gotten rid of stuff, and the OCD person may or may not be able to have some therapy and let go of some of their obsession. Anyway, it's great fun. I love watching that show. I think you should give it a try. It's on YouTube. Another thing I am all into lately is this. The brand is Everyone, and they have hand soap, they have lotion, they've got a lot of products. This is the apricot and vanilla lotion. Oh my gosh, you guys. It smells fresh and sweet. It's vanilla and apricot at the same time. How can you go wrong with that? And it's a really good lotion. I don't use it right before I stitch, but I use it throughout the day anytime I've washed my hands, because I have a tendency to very dry skin everywhere. Face, legs, arms, hands. I just tend to be dry. So anytime I wash my hands, I have to re-lotion right away. And this has been my go-to, and I love it. Also, I'm really into listening to the crickets. In our part of the world, they don't really start to sing until the end of August, beginning of September. And it's just the sound of fall coming to me. I love September because it's still warm in the daytime, but it's cool at night. There's, you know, the promise of things to come, and yet you can still kind of linger in some of the summer feelings for a little while. And so every night, windows are open. I'm sitting out on the back deck as long as I can. It drops down into the 50s at night now. Actually down into the 40s a few nights lately. And so I can't sit outside for too long without shivering, but the crickets are amazing. And the other thing I'm all into lately is making gigantic batches of bee tea to feed my bees. I use a recipe out of this book, Natural Beekeeping by Ross Conrad. And bee tea is basically a sugar syrup that you make using a pure cane sugar. And this recipe I love because it's not just about getting food into the bees, it's about nutrition too. And there's a small amount of mineral salt, so they're getting some trace minerals. And then also I use chamomile tea in place of some of the water. And then I add a supplement that's called, what's it called? Honey Bee Healthy. And it's got some essential oils in it and some other ingredients that are really helpful for boosting a bee's immune system. Are you wondering why I am where I am? Because this floss tube episode, which by the way is number 10. Number 10. I'm in the double digits. Are you proud of me? Today is September 7th, 2018. Floss tube episode number 10 for Heartstring Samplery, and this floss tube episode is brought to you by the return of piano lessons for my children. Their piano teacher teaches out of her house, and her house is right on the Sandy River. See this lovely, well, you see part of the river and the gravel bar. I don't know, can you see the main river back there? I think. Hopefully the sound of the river isn't too loud, because if it is, I'm gonna have to reshoot this and I really don't want to. So it's been one of those days. I'm trying to get 2 new designs out, and so I was at the printer, I was at the copy shop, I was dropping off pages with my friend who does the folding for me. I'm grocery shopping and planning and cleaning for guests coming for dinner tonight, a friend that I've recently become reacquainted with after like 18 years of not seeing each other. He and his wife are coming for dinner, and it's just been, my kids are homeschooled, and on a typical week, once the school year gets going, they have enrichments classes on campus 2 days a week. But the first week of school, they're just home. And so I didn't factor that into my busy schedule this week, and I've been trying to do finishing and photography and cover design. And in the meantime, my daughter, who is 100% doing her schoolwork in books this year instead of online curriculum, has lots of questions, and she has to take precedence. And so my train of thought keeps getting, stopped, because I'm helping her figure out fractions or the history of the world, or I don't know, she's writing her own personal timeline of history to kind of give her a concept of what that's like in comparison with history in general. So she's got math, science, history, grammar, literature. And it's all stuff that I can totally manage and handle. I just haven't adjusted to 100% of her classes being out of books. So fortunately, the math comes with a DVD that has the lectures on it, and they're like, 5 to 7 minute lectures, really easy. But then there's the hands-on part that I have to help her with, and everything else is reading in books, and she's really a very good reader. Comprehension level is totally fine. It's just that every once in a while there's a vocabulary word that she, has never heard before, and I have to help. Anyway, I'm not complaining, because it's the best decision I ever made to withdraw my kids from our local public school. It just was not working for any of us very well. My son is 100% taking either live classes online or computer-driven curriculum, and it's working really well for him. My daughter just really struggled last year with that, and so this year we kind of pulled back a little bit, and then next year she'll start middle school, and she'll be required to add 1 class a year that's computers, whether live or just a computer-driven curriculum. And then by the time the kids are in high school at this particular school, they're 100% either Web Academy or live courses taught online. It's fantastic. And they get, they get the one-on-one, they've got fantastic teachers at their school, and they get all the fun classes. Like, I think my son has a 3D printing class this year where they're gonna get to design and print stuff from a 3D printer. I mean, what school do you know of that has that kind of technology? My daughter gets art classes, which she loves, and Spanish, and all of the stuff that I would not be good at teaching. They get to go over there and have it at school with interaction with friends. It's fabulous. The reason I'm talking about that is because this week has just been over the top crazy. I feel like my brain's gonna explode. In the meantime, my husband is finally officially a Farmer Brothers Coffee employee. His title is Director of Commercial Equipment, I think. They sort of made a position for him because of his unique knowledge and experience in the industry, and they're allowing him to work out of an office in Portland. We don't have to move to Texas, and that makes us happy. God bless Texas, but we belong in Oregon, so we get to stay here. He's going to be traveling a lot though. He'll be doing a lot of back and forth, 2 or 3 day trips down to Texas and back, and but it's worth it because we get to stay here, and he gets to take on a director role, which is going to suit him really well. It's going to be a hard adjustment. He's been in operations, in an operational aspect for so long where, you know, he's hands-on doing the things, and now he's going to be putting the plant, like the vision and scope of what's happening with the commercial equipment together, and then delegating to people to do the operational stuff. So, but there's been, you know, insurance papers and financial stuff, and it's all good. We're trusting that we're in the right place and things are going well. Our health has been good. It's just been so much for my little brain to process all at once. And I'm just thankful that there hasn't been anything bad thrown our way during this time, because honestly, there's been times when I've been putting myself back on my supplements for my adrenal fatigue because I can just feel it. And I do not want to go back to where I was in 2012, not able to get up off the couch for months at a time. And if you guys don't know that part of my story, it's all on my blog. Well, sort of on my blog. I wasn't really writing a lot about it, but it was a pretty rough 3 years of my life, and I'm doing everything I can to keep myself from going back there. Sometimes during these times when there's just so much in our minds, at least for me, it sparks a lot of creativity, but it's at the point of saturation where I don't have time for that creativity. So I'm grabbing hold of this hour while my kids take back-to-back piano lessons and shooting a floss tube, because I suppose I could sit and stitch. Wouldn't that be lovely? But then you might not get a floss tube about my new releases, and it's kind of a fun way for me to try to reach out and connect with you. And so far you're watching my videos, so you must be enjoying it too. Anyway, that was a very long rabbit trail that I didn't intend on taking you down. That covered a lot of the bases though. I guess I did intend to take you down that rabbit trail because I had a lot of that stuff jotted down on my handy little cheat sheet. So I have 2 vintage, I'm gonna steal a Joan and Kelly tag, that I want to show you. Sorry while I duck down out of the screen. The first is so my husband and I just had our 19th wedding anniversary. We were married on September 4th of 1999, and so I thought I might show you something that kind of tied in with that, but first you gotta see this. This is our engagement photo. Yeah, he didn't have a beard. My face doesn't look that much different, just 0 wrinkles. I was 24 and no bangs. The bangs now are hiding the creases in my forehead, which that's where I started showing my age first, because I apparently do a lot of this when I talk, you know, eyebrows raised, and so I have these crazy lines on my forehead. So the bangs are happening now because they make this seem younger than it actually is. Anyway, that's us 20 years ago almost. And this is Mary Gale Scarlet Letter. I'm hoping that glare isn't too bad. And I stitched it long ago, way before I was designing. The first designs that I stitched, actually, when I started stitching samplers, when I first discovered them, were all Scarlet Letter. She has an amazing collection of antique sampler reproductions. And what I did back then, even before I knew it was a thing, is I would make changes and adaptations. This one, sorry, I don't want to blind you. I changed the hair color so that it more closely resembled mine. I was much blonder 20 years ago. And I changed the words up here. Instead of saying Mary Gale and her date, I have it say Much Beloved, and I have our wedding date and our initials MT and BT. And then I hid down here in the bottom the letters SHMILY, because that stands for See How Much I Love You. And it's something that we, over the last 20 years, have a message we take turns hiding for each other. It's been a while since we've done it. Maybe I need to hide it again for him. And it's based off of a story that we read on the internet long, long ago about a man and a woman who, over the course of their married life, hid this message for each other. So we've written it in decks of cards and on toilet paper rolls and in frost on the deck, and I think he even mowed it into the field one time. It's just kind of a fun thing. You know, when you spend this many years with somebody, there's the potential for boredom to sneak in, right? You know I'm right. You get tired of each other, not in a I don't want to see you again way you would hope, although I know that happens too. Even in the most healthy, loving relationships, things get the same all the time, and you're in the same pattern of, you know, greeting each other in the morning, in the afternoon, meals. I'm tired, I've been working all day, and so to have this little thing that we do is kind of like a fun little, oh yeah, that's right, we were once flirty and romantic with each other, let's do it again for 2 seconds and then get back to our boring life. Anyway, that's what that reminds me of. So this is hanging in our bedroom next to the picture from our wedding and engagement and a few other special things, and takes me back to when I had time to stitch something other than my own designs, which I'll do again someday, just not right now. I'm having too much fun with my own stuff. So the other vintage is my own. And this is Anna's Prayer. I released this in October of 2009, and crazy me, the entire thing is stitched over one. Oh, please don't blow away. That's the bag that has my new releases in it. That, you don't want that to go floating down the river, and neither do I. So there, it's secure now. I don't know what the linen is because I didn't keep track of that sort of thing back then, but it looks to me like a 28 count even weave of some kind, and the whole thing is stitched over one. But how cool would it be if you stitched it over two on like a 36 or 40 count, even a 32 count? It would of course be bigger, but the quote I saw on an antique sampler that was dated 1808, I'm going to turn it around and read it to you. It says, "God of my life and author of my days, permit my feeble voice to lisp my praise. Teach me to quit this transitory scene with decent triumph and a look serene." Teach me to fix my ardent hopes on high, and having lived in thee to die. And when I saw that quote, you know, it grabbed, sorry, I'm looking for the cover of that chart because I want to get this right. Something about it grabbed my attention, and so I looked it up, and I discovered that the words are part of a poem called Address to the Deity by Anna Letitia Barbald. It was published along with a collection of her other poems in 1825. Oh, that doesn't make sense. If originally that was on an 1808 sampler, I may have gotten the published date wrong or the sampler date wrong in here, or maybe there's two published dates. I don't know. Sorry about that confusion. But anyway, my understanding is that a lot of times when little girls stitched quotes and sayings on their samplers, they were either chosen by their teacher or by themselves and were published poetry, scripture, song, lyrics from that time that meant something to them. The flower bouquet, this part with the crazy colors, is actually, it's designed both in form and composition and color, and you know, the crazy like geometric on that little urn. It was a crewel work pot holder that I saw in a book from the late 1700s that just grabbed my attention. So it's what I usually do is I find inspiration in something old and I make it my own. I'll combine it in a way that's new. And especially back when I first started, I did that a lot more. I have a lot more motifs that I do now that are just based on what's in my head from the past, and I'll, you know, make a mermaid when I've never seen a mermaid on a sampler before, or an acorn, or I don't know. The little motifs that I use are often now coming from my head, but they're from my past experience as well. Anyway, this is Anna's Prayer, and if you would like to stitch Anna's Prayer, please say so in the comments, and on my next video I will announce a couple names that get to take, that I'll send a copy of the chart to. You can adopt Anna's Prayer into your collection, and hey, check it out, that is my earliest logo. One of my distributors, Norden Crafts, recently went out of business, and I got a bunch of inventory back, and they still had some of my oldest charts in inventory. So this was when I was transitioning from being Heartstring Primitives, you can see Heartstring Primitives, to Heartstring Samplery. There was a period of time where I had it say Heartstring Primitive Samplery. Why didn't I just go straight to Samplery? I don't know. I was trying to avoid confusion, so instead I had like 3 different business names. But I've been Heartstring Samplery for a long time, so that's probably the only one you know me by. So anyway, I would like to stitch Anna's Prayer. Put that in there. In the comments below. Don't say giveaway. I don't care if you subscribe. Just tell me that you want to stitch that one, because it's one of my favorites from long, long ago, and it just never has sold really well. Maybe because I stitched it all over one. I don't know. Tell me if you intend to stitch it over 1 or over 2 if you get to adopt her. Okay, so it's time. I'm going to show you my new releases. I don't have the covers yet. I ran my printer out of the special paper he uses for my covers, and also toner. So when I went in today to pick up covers, he only had one of them done and not the other. So I am not going to show you covers today, but I am going to show you my new releases. This first one has a story. That sun is really bright. I don't want to put my sunglasses on though. I did that to you guys in the last video and I kind of felt bad. I don't know, it always feels a little bit rude to me to cover my eyes, so I'm just going to squint my way through this. It's a beautiful September day and the rain will be here before long, and I will look back on this with longing for the sunshine. Anyway, last September I got the idea for this design, charted it up, and set it aside with the intention of stitching it this summer. And when I was in Chicago at the Tomorrow's Heirlooms retreat in July, I still hadn't started it. And one of my oldest, not old in age, but one of the model stitchers that has stitched for me for the very longest has actually not stitched for me for quite a while because I just don't use model stitchers much. She was there and I got to meet her in person for the first time, and she said, you know, I still stitch. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry, I keep hogging it all up and I'm overwhelmed. She said, just send me something. You need to ask for help if you're overwhelmed. And I said, okay, you're right. So I went home and I pulled out this chart and I sent it to her. And she whipped it up really quick, and the day it came back in the mail to me, Tanya of the Scarlet House announced on Instagram and, I don't know, blog, wherever on social media, that she had a new one coming out called Pumpkin Spice Everything. Well, guess what? Yep, we both had a Pumpkin Spice Everything, and I really didn't want to steal her thunder. So I went ahead and finished this as a drum, which, by the way, best drum I have ever made. I am so proud of this thing. I finally have the technique down. I used Kathy Haberman Hands-On Design. I used her tutorial to finish this, and let me tell you, it's way better than my tutorials. So if you're looking for a way to finish a drum, go to her blog, because this is the way to do it. Anyway, I didn't want to, right on the tail of Tanya releasing a Pumpkin Spice Everything, didn't want to release another Pumpkin Spice Everything, which, by the way, hers is way better than mine. Just, I like hers. I typically like my designs a lot, but I like hers better than mine in this case. So I quickly stitched up You Had Me at Pumpkin Spice. So now my pattern is called You Had Me at Pumpkin Spice, but you will also get the chart for Pumpkin Spice Everything. And it's basically the same repeating pattern. I used two different colorways. This is all Weeks Dye Works. It's a little bit brighter. This one is a combination of Classic Colorworks and the Gentle Art. I did the little cut and patch method on the back. It's basically the same thing. It's just that the layout of the words is a little different. And then this one has 4 extra boxes of pumpkins on the back so it can wrap around and be a drum. So that is shipping out to shops on my auto list, and then it'll go to other shops who place orders, and then it'll go to the distributors. Meanwhile, I plan to release it on in my Etsy shop on Monday the 10th. So you'll be able to get it there. The sun is killing me. Whew. So bright. Can I put my sunglasses? No, I'm not going to put my sunglasses on. Now you know what's coming next, right? It's our favorite time of year. It's harvest, it's fall, it's September and Thanksgiving, and I know a lot of you like Halloween. It's not my favorite holiday, but this set, Crinkle Crinkle, did that get your attention? It's a paper bag, not plastic, but Crinkle Crinkle. Let me put these in order really quick. So how do you condense the 3 most beautiful months of the year into one little set of fobs? It's not easy, but I did it. So with no further ado, Festive Little Fobs, the Harvest Edition. We have sunflowers. I put bees on the back because it matched and the bees love the sunflowers. We have wreaths of autumn leaves with acorns. A perfect spot for an initial in the middle. Check out this fun fabric, pumpkins and leaves. We have acorns blooming out of yellowware pots. We have little squirrels gathering acorns for the winter. And look, there's even a little squirrel on the back. We have autumn leaves in a pot, or in a basket. And a little pumpkin growing out of the basket. I made another mini drum. This one's a little bit bigger than the others, of a basket with some acorns, some little black mums, some pumpkins. Then we have my nod to Halloween, a little black kitty cat. My daughter has already claimed this for her own. She might have to fight Natalie over it though. Natalie's the one that stitched the motifs for me this time. Did Natalie stitch them or did Karen? Oh no. It's back and forth between the two of them. And, oh, Natalie did stitch this set. Whew, I was right the first time. Okay, you guys, this is my favorite. Little turkey. I'm not gonna do my turkey call because I will be embarrassed for the rest of my life, but I do a pretty decent turkey call. Turkeys are almost my most favorite bird of all, and I don't know if it's because I am a late Thanksgiving baby, and so Thanksgiving was like associated with my birthday my whole life, and so therefore I love Thanksgiving, or I think it's just because turkeys are cool, right? They have like blue heads sometimes, and they talk funny, and they get big and puffy, and I don't like eating turkeys. I actually don't care for the taste of turkey, but they're just cool birds. My other favorite bird is like this completely prehistoric looking stork, and I think it's called a shoebill stork, and they're these massive storks with these giant beaks. So I think it's just because I kind of like uglyish birds. Turkeys and shoebill storks. There's a video of a shoebill stork at a zoo or some kind of a preserve maybe, and this stork is walking along, and they kind of look like a dinosaur. Their heads are just crazy, and this duck comes walking across and is in the path in front of it, and this stork reaches down, and you think it's gonna eat the duck, but it doesn't. It literally like chomps onto the duck, picks it up, sets it down to the side, and keeps walking. It's like, dude, you're in my way. You guys have to look up that video. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's hilarious. If I can find it, maybe I'll link it below. I don't know if I have anything else to talk about. Yeah, that's it. I am gonna stick a couple of little clips at the end of this video. If you want to stick around there, I got some video footage of our front yard, my band playing in my front yard at Twistapalooza. It was Twistapalooza number 4. It's kind of our summer big bash that we do every year. We have some friends that help us. We pay a musician, and then my band plays for free because we're just in it for the fun. And people just come, and we grill, and we have a big potluck, and people hang out, and it gets dark, and the lights are on, and the tiki torches, and the kids are running around with glow sticks, and it's so much fun. My kids look forward to it every year, and we have this growing group of people that look forward to it too. Anyway, I have some video footage of that I'll put at the end, and it's a little embarrassing. I mean, our band we're not bad, but we're not, you know, we practice like 2 or 3 hours a week, and you know, I've only been playing my instrument for 5 years, so in a lot of ways I'm a beginner, and but we're just in it for the fun of it. So anyway, it is what it is. I'll show it, little bits of that, and I'll see what other videos I have recently that I can pop on there, because you seem to enjoy seeing what my world looks like. So I think that's it for now, and I hope that you are all well. Make sure you pop in and say hello and leave me a comment, and because I do read them all. I may not respond to them all, but when I read them, I'll give you a little thumbs up at least, so you know that I've seen your message. I love having a little bit of contact with you and just hearing whatever you want to tell me. So that's all. Oh, one last thing. You have to see, I found the most hilarious shirt, and it's like my favorite thing ever. Oh my gosh, I've been on my knees this whole time. I'm feeling stiff. All right, you ready for this? Is that the best thing or what? Yeah, that's me. Total pothead. Over and out. See you guys later. Hi. So, I was just watching my video that I recorded yesterday and realized that I didn't give an explanation for why I am all into making bee tea lately. So, I'm out at the hive. There it is. There they are, in and out. They're bringing in lots of pollen right now, but not a lot of nectar. It's late season, and there's just not a whole lot in the way of natural food for the bees. Add into that a pretty rough season for the 2 hives, and then combining the 2 hives together, there's just not enough winter food stores built up for my girls. And the few boys that will overwinter with them. For an average size hive in our climate, the bees need at least 10 frames with honey on both sides. And at this point they have maybe 3, or last time I checked a couple weeks ago. And I realized it was just too late in the season for them to build up any food stores on their own. So the rule is feed your bees when they're in a situation where they're going to die without it. Don't feed them when they're actually building up honey for human consumption, because the sugar syrup that you feed them, they don't convert it to honey. It's just sugar syrup. And they will pack it into the honeycomb. They will age it, it'll get to the right consistency as honey, they'll cap it just like honey, but it is not honey. Honey by definition is anything that the bees make from nectar. So there's a lot of problems in the honey industry with people feeding sugar basically to the bees and then passing it off as honey and selling it. And it's not a very ethical way of operating, and it's not the most nutritious food source for the bees to feed them sugar water, but if the alternative is starving to death, this is what is good to do. So I'm adding the trace minerals from the sea salt and adding in using the chamomile tea, gives them a little bit extra. Then I use 100% cane sugar, and then I add in a little bit of a supplement that will help to boost their immune systems and strengthen the hive. And I'm going to do this. They will drink liquid feed as long as it remains above, the food itself remains 50 degrees or above. I keep switching arms because this camera is heavy. And after that, I will be feeding them a solid food substance through the winter, because I don't want to lose another hive. In 2 years of beekeeping, I've already lost a hive to absconding last season, and then this season I had to combine the two into one, and it's a really long story. If you haven't been following me on Instagram, that's probably the best way to get the story, and just click on the hashtag Heartstring Apiary and just scroll back through all of my Heartstring Apiary posts and you'll get the story. Anyway, I wanted to show you what I've been doing to feed them. This time of year, because the nectar flow is non-existent, if you feed your bees on the outside of the hive, you will encourage robbing from other hives in the area. And I have a friend who lives an eighth of a mile down the road that has 6 hives. So bees are opportunists and they are hoarders, and they will, even if they've got plenty of stores, they will go find more and bring it home. So in order to discourage robbing, I've added a third box. I'm going to turn the camera now to the top of the hive, which actually does not have any frames in it. Let's see if I can open this one-handed and show you inside. I am not suited up right now, and I don't suit up unless I'm actually doing a full hive inspection because these bees are so gentle. So it's just an open box and a little mason jar feeder. And so once a day, they've been going through a jar a day. Once a day I come out. Yellow jackets are fighting over it right now. Can I smash them? Get off of there. Horrible creatures. Once a day I swap out the feed jar and they are just gobbling it right up. I'm going to turn the camera off right now and swap it out, and then we'll talk some more. Okay, so when you put a feeder, I had to clean the yellow jacket guts off the top of the jar. It's a gravity fed perforated lid feeder style, and when you put it on the inside of the hive like this and then put a cover on top, the bees are able to defend it and robbers are not able to get in and initiate fighting and robbing. It's protected inside. And I have a relatively strong hive, and other bees in the area can sense that. They can tell when there's a strong hive with a queen that is actively laying eggs, and they're just a strong, healthy hive. And they don't tend to rob them because when you have a lot of strong defenders, it's a bit riskier to come in and try to take over. So I'm feeding them on the inside. The bees are protecting it, and I'm assuming the next time I do an inspection, I'm going to find a lot more food stores. Granted, it's the feed I've been giving them, but they will continue to eat from that artificial food well into the winter. And then the solid food that I give them later will take over in the absence of the liquid food. So that's a little longer description than what I intended to give you, but I knew if I didn't put this in, I would inevitably get lots of questions from all of you curious people. It's been so fun learning and sharing what I've learned with all of you. You have been the best cheerleaders a novice beekeeper could ever want, and I thank you for it. Oh, and can I just say, that right there is a yellow jacket. If it's like seriously like stripy, bright yellow and black, that is not a honeybee. And it is not a pollinator. It is a vicious creature who eats other bugs. And yes, they do eat bugs that we don't want around. So you could say that there's a good reason for them to be alive, but they're also very predatory and they attack my honeybees. And for that reason, I am happy to kill as many of them as I possibly can, and you are welcome to do the same. You girls think I've got scraps for you? Is that why you're out here? You're so spoiled. I want you to see these sunflowers. For perspective, chairs. This is me walking up to these sunflowers. Okay, there's where my head is, right there. Oh yeah. I don't know what variety these are, but they're amazing. There's our finished raised bed in the back. I showed you in the last video when the work was being done. My farm boy did a fantastic job on this back deck last summer, and he's nearly finished with the back of the house. The last element will be on the far side of the deck, and it will be a little kidney bean shaped wrap around that back post koi pond. Not sure if that'll happen this year or if that will be next summer's project. When you have a real job and work lots of hours a week, home improvements like this take time, but it's always worth it. And now, if you've stuck around with me this far, I am going to wrap up today's video with about 20 minutes or so of scenes from my band and the final performer at Twistapalooza. Hope you're all well, and we'll chat with you soon.
She's a smart little
On your feet and dancing.
We do encourage dancing or swaying, hand pumping, grooving, whatever you got. Shake it like your mama gave it to you.
That's a thing.
I don't know.
I just say it with gusto.
Shake what your mama gave you. That's it.
There you go.
And on that bombshell.
I didn't think he was ever going to stop.
All right, so like one of the people before us said, we are the hypocrites.
Hypocrite is Greek for pretender. That's where the name came from, in case you were wondering.
So on bass, we have the one, the only, Beth Lewis. I'm Brandy Gable. Our incredible electric guitar, the
Not always electric.
rockinist, is of course Dan Bruce. This is a cajon. This is a cajon.
Cajon.
It's
And
a drum.
If you look behind Dan, you'll see he doesn't just play electric. He's got a nice rack, doesn't he?
Prettiest rack I ever saw. To the far right, of course, is Jim, the incomparable Swanson.
Beth just got a brand new 5-string guitar.
An extra string on top, and it confuses me.
Awesome.
Are you out there? Did you turn up? I know. There you go. There you go.
play this?
Expect you to sing along on the chorus. Days I let the horse run as the desert turned to sea. There was sand and hills and rocks and things. There was I lost my words. The ocean is a desert with its life underground and perfect skies up above. Under the seas lies a hard made of ground, but the humans will give no love. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for you. Let me explain why I lost my train of thought. I just saw a friend walk in who I haven't seen for like 15 years, so we'll catch up later. Not to draw attention to you or anything.
Not to draw attention to you, but we totally did.
Too long.
So we started playing together.
Well, it goes back to Fellowship Bible Church when
Yeah.
we were kind of joined as we kind of fell together as a worship band.
I've been playing bass for 5 years, so. And then the Hypocrites came to be maybe 4 years ago.
Well,
4 years
no,
ago.
because it was 2 years ago that we played. This was our first gig, so probably 2.5 years ago. So we were met at church, played worship band, and then
It's
just
ancient history.
for some strange reason enjoyed each other's company so much, decided to just do some fun stuff.
Well, that makes sense with Beth and I.
But yet here we are singing songs.
You belong among a row of flowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. You belong with your love on your arm. You belong somewhere you will be.
We're not used to having people dance, and it's
It's
wonderful.
awesome and distracting. In all the right ways.
No. It's actually inspiring.
It's inspiring you, it's distracting me. But I want them to keep dancing.
Don't stop dancing just because it distracts Beth.
Close your eyes.
Put your sunglasses back on.
This next song, though.
I know. You might be sad that you left the dance floor.
I mean, I want to see everybody up on this one. Thank you so much, dancers. That was an endless amount of entertaining. Love was out to get me. That's the way it seems. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried.
This one goes out to my nephew Isaac, who was asking if it was going to be loud, and if he really wanted to come, he wasn't sure. And he said, but I do like that one song that's about water. And so this is the song about water that's for Isaac.
Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost a minute of sleeping, worrying about the way things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. All right,
We're down to our last song.
Perfect. Baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch. And love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Remember when we used to be that free?
Right?
That's when I said it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Amen.
That's the way it should be. Well, there was a time when you let me know what's really going on below. But now you never show that to me, do ya? But remember when I moved in you, and the Holy Dove was moving too, and every breath we drew was hallelujah. 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 Maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew ya. And it's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Thank you.
Did you just really follow that after TNT?
Yeah. Your neighbors are never going to be the same.
Dude, you got skills, brother. Love you. That was awesome. Good
Thank
job,
you.
Chris.
Well done, Katie Bird.
Do you guys want to hear one more?
Yeah. 3 or 4, buddy.
3 or 4?